Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be talking about Legacy of Death, the audio story, which is basically a sequel, even though it's not really the right way to describe it, to The Paradox Planet, which I reviewed recently. Now, these were sent to me by Robert. I do want to give a shout out to Robert and say thank you. I always love getting fan mail, and I always try to make sure I go out of my way to thank whoever sends me fan mail, because I very much appreciate it. Robert, this is, I believe, the second thing Robert has sent me. Robert also sent me the Triumph of Sutekh audio stories with the 7th Doctor, which I enjoyed. I really want to hear those audio stories with Sutekh and the 4th Doctor at some point now. But I enjoyed the Triumph of Sutekh, especially the ending of it was really good. The first part and the last part especially were really good in it. And I really liked these. Robert sent me these because he knows I love Season 17. I tend to love Douglas Adams' style of humor, and I feel like Tom Baker and Douglas Adams just fit together like two pieces of a puzzle. And I love Season 17, and he thought since these have a very Season 17 tone to them that I would probably enjoy them. And he was right. I very much enjoyed Paradox Planet, and I was really looking forward to Legacy of Death. I did listen to one story in between them. I listened to Resurrection Planet, which Will wrote, and Will did a really good job with that. It's interesting because this really feels more like a four-parter to one story. It's like a classic Doctor Who four-parter. I don't know quite why they split it into two stories. Basically, this is a two-parter and this is a two-parter, but they're the same story. I don't know why they split it into separate titles. Maybe that's just whatever sub-range this is under, the audio adventures of Doctor Who. Maybe that's just how they did it then. But it really is just one story. That's a basic classic Who four-parter. And I enjoy it. I like the fact we have a couple classic Who alumni in it as well. The actor who played in Kenda, I believe, is the one kind of going crazy. The "you can't mend people," I think that's him. He's in it. And then we also have the actor who played Duggan in City of Death in it. You guys know I love City of Death. And he's playing a very different actor than Duggan in this one. A very, very different actor. Of course, I also think the actor, I think he was also in Mysterious Planet, wasn't he? Wasn't he also in Mysterious Planet? But I love it. He's playing kind of a scientist character here. Although he's not in Legacy of Death as much. He was in Paradox Planet a lot, but he's only in Legacy of Death a little at the beginning. But I like the little scientist character he's playing. It's really hard to really go into details on the story. One of the things I was really loving about this story is the main cast, Romana, the Doctor, and K9. First off, the performances are fantastic. Tom Baker just slips back into the role of the 4th Doctor so easily that you would swear he just never stopped doing it. That after 1981, he just kept playing the Doctor because he feels like he's never been away from the role to the point. And what really gets me is that his voice does not sound like it's aged at all. Like, I literally in the proper sense of the word, forgot that he was older when I was listening to this. Like, it literally slipped my mind that he was recording this in the 2010s. Because it sounds like he just stepped right off the set of Doctor Who and recorded this. Like, I listened to Doctor Who and the Pescatons recently, which, if it hasn't aired yet, the part 1 of this will be airing, of that review will be airing at some point, and part 2 of that review, the Pescatons part 2, is actually a Patreon exclusive that's up on the Patreon for certain tiers of the Patreon members. And of course, he recorded the Pescatons, during the 70s when he was the Doctor. And this sounds like he could have recorded it right after the Pescatons. Tom Baker's voice just sounds the exact same. Lala Ward is putting in a good performance. Now, her voice sounds, you can tell she's a little older. Her voice is a little lower, but it's not detrimental to the story. It's like something, your mind makes a little note of in the back of your head, and then you carry on. And she puts in a good performance. And, of course, I'm assuming that's John Leeson voicing K9. It sounds like John Leeson voicing K9, and it's fantastic. And then all 3 characters get stuff to do. Of course, the Doctor gets a lot to do. Romana gets a lot to do. And even K9 gets a lot to do. K9 is very, very key to this story as well, which is something the very ending of the story actually touches on, which I really, really like. So all 3 of our main cast get a lot to do, and they're performed well. The guest cast are good. every now and then, especially in Legacy of Death, I did start mixing characters up. Like, I would forget who was who. With some of the guest characters, I'd be like, okay, which one was this again? And there was a couple times where I'd be mixing up, okay, who's in what time period? Because Legacy of Death, again, being the parts 3 and 4, basically, to the Paradox Planet, is such a season 17 idea, because you basically have two groups at war, which is not uncommon. You know, in Doctor Who, you have one planet at war with another planet, a country at war with another country. No, in this case, I love, because you have one planet at war with itself, but it's in different time zones. The future is at war with the past. The past is at war with the future. I love that idea. I just love that idea. I'm surprised that's never been done before. And all the rules they have to it to make it work, I love it. The future blames the past for the problems. The past blames the future for the problems. And really it has, for me, my first thoughts early on in this story, when I started connecting what was going on, was it made me think of Day of the Daleks. I think I talked about this in my review for the Paradox Planet. It made me think of Day of the Daleks, where, you know, the gorillas trying to prevent what happened accidentally caused what happened. I kind of figured, well, that's probably some of what's at play here. The future trying to, you know, avert it. Not necessarily avert it, but stop the past being at war. The past accidentally causes the future. And it's interesting how they go out of their way, though, to maintain the timeline by making sure they don't kill any of their ancestors. Like, they have a little DNA scanner that can detect whether that person had offspring and will be influential to the timeline. That's really interesting. Tom gets some of his clever season 17 lines. I can't remember most of them off the top of my head, but I loved the one where, again, with all the time traveling, because they go back to the present or the past and the future a lot in this, that at one point there's two versions of the TARDIS almost close to each other. And the Doctor goes to get in one, and Romana's like, no, you can't use that one, Doctor. That's the one that's got to stay back here with K9. And the Doctor's like, of course. I just wanted to see if you were checking your... I forget what he says there, but it's very Fourth Doctor, very Williams era Fourth Doctor. Yes, I figured... I wish I could remember what he said there. I tried to make a minute. I should have wrote it down, but it's absolutely hilarious. And it's the kind of thing he would say in that era. It's really good. And there's a lot of lines that he has like that. A lot of those clever quips that the Fourth Doctor has in general, but especially in that Williams era. They even touch on this in the extras, because at the end of the CD there are some behind the scenes extras that it almost feels Douglas Adams askew. Like, you feel like maybe they found an old Douglas Adams outline and wrote a story for it, because it has that feel to it. But I found it a lot of fun. Like, this story is so fun, with them going to the past, the present, meeting up with all these different people, finding out a couple people are actually on the other side, and trying to help the other group. And then I like the fact that the performances are good. I like the fact that all of our main cast get stuff to do. And I like the fact it's a bonkers fun idea, and that the story itself is a lot of fun. I don't really want to go into details, because I just feel like you should listen to it. And it's nice that it has that kind of feel that Stephen Moffat does, where Stephen Moffat, whether you like him or hate him, is really good at remembering the Doctor as a time traveler and keeping up and utilizing the fact the Doctor is a time traveler. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in this story, even in Paradox Planet, that you see the events setting up for that later in Legacy of Death. Like, of course, there is, when they get to the future, there's this old ancient computer, like McKenna or something like that, that these acolytes, they don't exactly worship it, but it's almost like worshiping it without actually worshiping it. They're called like acolytes of McKenna. And you find out that inside the giant machine, it's actually K9 running everything. And K9's been there for 1,000 years running everything. And you wonder, well, how did K9 get here? And there's actually kind of two K9s at one point, because you have the past events K9 and the future events K9, because K9 does kind of stay there for 1,000 years in between, because the past and the present take place. The past and the future take place over, there's about a 1,000-year gap between them. And then you see at the end of the story with the Doctor setting everything up, you know, having, okay, K9, I need you to hide in here for 1,000. So you see him setting up events, kind of like in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey or Excellent Adventure. Like, all right, we have to remember to come back later and leave the keys right here, so we'll have them. So it's you see them setting up events that we saw play out earlier. And I like that. That's clever. I love when people remember the Doctor is a time traveler like that. And that you can actually have the effect before the cause. Instead of cause and effect, you can have effect and cause. And I think that's clever writing. I love when Doctor Who does timey-wimey stuff like that. So I really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. It definitely has that Season 17 flair that I like. I love Season 17, especially Season 17 at its best. And I really enjoyed it. I want to know if you've ever heard these stories, and if you have, what you think of them, and what you think of the humorous style, the Douglas Adams style of Season 17 of Doctor Who. And I also want to thank Robert for sending it. I really do appreciate Robert seems to know me pretty well here. I think he's got a pretty good read on my Doctor Who fandom. So I really appreciate him sending that. If there's anything you would like to send me, my P.O. box is down in the description of this video. I love getting fan mail. It makes my day. So feel free to send me anything Doctor Who related, or just anything related you want me to review. I've actually been collecting these little blokey Transformer figures. I love Transformers. It's just the same way I love Doctor Who, I love Transformers. So I have all of Wave 1, and me and a friend of mine are about to order Wave 2. But, you know, if anybody wants to send any Wave 3, 4, 5, or 6 blind boxes, I would absolutely love to get those, because these are pretty neat little figures. And I'd love to have them on the shelf. That'd be good for background on some of the videos. So feel free to send any of those if you like, or anything Transformers related, really. I also have a link to my Amazon down there. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is also down there. I do update those regularly. I also want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, and Unknown289. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and my YouTube members. It's very much appreciated. If you would like to support me on Patreon, a link to that is down there as well. Get early access to videos. Several different tiers there to choose from. You get to vote in polls for fan reviews and stuff like that. Well, it's probably aired by the time this is going out. I did just recently review Evil of the Daleks, which they voted on. So check that out if you're interested in that. And most importantly, thank you for watching.